on To Tell the Truth is one of Latin America's foremost entertainers in nightclubs, television, and motion pictures. What is your name, please?
My name is Gina Roman. My name is Pat.
Only one of these young ladies is the real Gina Roman. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, and Dina Merrill on To Tell the Truth. To Tell the Truth is brought to you this evening by a new chiffon, the soft margarine. So soft it comes in a tub, new chiffon margarine. And here, sitting in for vacationing Bud Collier, is our host, Robert Q. Lewis.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to Tell the Truth. We're glad to have you with us, and also we're very pleased that sitting in for Kitty Carlisle, who's on lecture tour tonight, is that lovely Dina Merrill. Welcome, Dina.
Thank you, Robert.
Glad to have you with us. Well, I think you're going to enjoy the show tonight, Dina. And gentlemen, I know you're already enjoying the first spot, so let's open those envelopes, contents of which, of course, you've never seen before, and follow along as I read. I, Gina Roman, was a motion picture actress in Cuba. When Fidel Castro confiscated my family's property, I fled to Mexico and continued my career, not only in movies, but also on television and as a supper club singer. Recently, I flew to Florida to star in a unique film, a full-length color feature in which the producer, director, the cast, and the entire technical crew were all Cuban exiles. Most of the people on the set had been working at jobs totally unrelated to motion pictures. For example, our assistant director was a former bellboy. The chief electrician used to be an acrobat. And our leading man had been making a living as a swimming pool manager. Our all-Cuban exile movie will have its premiere around April 1st. It's a romantic comedy with a provocative title, Dios te salve, psiquiatra, which in such bad Spanish, let me try to translate it. It means, God save you, psychiatrist. Signed, signed Gina Roman. Well, to my left, I think you will agree, three of the most beautiful girls I've seen in some time. They all claim to be Gina Roman. Orson, Casanova Bean. Would you start, please?
Bless you, pal. Well, whoever you are, you're bountifully endowed by the Creator. Number 3, is your film to be a musical?
Well, has music, but we don't sing. I don't sing.
It's a comedy, though, huh?
It's not a kind of comedy.
Number 2, it's in the Spanish language?
Yes, it is.
Number 2, is it
Number
in Spanish?
Yes, it is.
And in what countries would a picture like this have its biggest market?
Well, I think first in North America, and then, of course, we'll send it to South America.
Now, what markets in North America would go for a picture like this in Spanish? I mean, are you aiming for, like, the small theaters that show, like, Bridget Burro pictures, or for the Spanish-speaking audiences, or what?
Well, later on, we'll dub it.
Dub it into English, will you?
Yes, yes. It did have success.
Thank you, Orson. Dina.
Robert, I have to disqualify myself.
Do you?
Yes. I
You know one of the young ladies.
Yes, I do.
All right,
I wish I did.
Yeah. Good time. All right, Dina, we'll count that as an incorrect vote. Now then, Tom, would you proceed?
Thank you. Number 1, pretty lady, where are most films that are Spanish language films, where are they made, most of them?
Most of them in Mexico.
Thank you. Number 2, what is your film about? God bless you, God save you, psychiatrist.
Well, it's about an unfaithful wife wants to cheat her husband because he doesn't pay much attention to her. So her husband thinks that there is something wrong with her, and he takes her to the psychiatrist. Well, and then some things, but it has a happy ending.
Thank you.
Sounds like it has a happy beginning, too.
I know. Peggy?
Thank you. Number 1, did the people that worked in the movie, had they been in the movies in Cuba before?
Some of them had.
Like the man who was an acrobat, was he an acrobat in the Cuban movies?
No, not in the movies, but he worked in Cuba as an acrobat.
I see. Thank you. Number 3, where will this movie premiere?
It's not premiered yet. It's going to be in April.
But where? Which city?
Well, festival in Florida because we did it there.
I see. Number 2, who will release the movie?
What do you say?
Who will
Who will
release
release it? Like Paramount or United Artists or...
Oh, we don't know yet.
Oh. Number...
Well, there you are. That's it. Time has come to vote, and without consultation, please mark your ballots, will you? Selecting either pretty lady number 1, number 2, or number 3. And, of course, as you know, ladies, the team of challengers receives $250 for each incorrect vote. All right, let's see. All marked? Tom, how did you... Oh, you have not yet voted. You must stop looking at them, Tom, and vote.
I was just,
All right.
I voted for 3 because it has more curves in it than any of the other numbers.
Peggy.
Well, I voted for number 2. I think she's spectacularly beautiful, and she has an absolutely marvelous voice. I believe she could be a movie star anywhere in the world.
All right, Orson.
Well, I voted for number 1, oddly enough. I think that, first of all, she speaks almost perfect English, and I think that movie stars today are multilingual. They're stars all over the world, and I think that, therefore, it could be number 1.
All right. Well, there are the votes, and quite widely scattered as they can be. And we'll find out why Dina disqualified herself in just a moment. But now let's find out which of these 3 charming young ladies is Gina Roman. Will the real Gina Roman please stand up?
Thank you very much. Now I will be very pleased to sing a Cuban number for you. Caliente como el sol, así es mi amor, ardiente como el ron. Tu corazón, eres mi felicidad, sin ti yo no puedo estar. Caliente, 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 caliente. Amor, amor, quiéreme así, 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 con frenesí, eres mi felicidad, sin ti yo no puedo estar. Caliente, 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 caliente como el sol, así es mi amor, ardiente como el ron. Tu corazón, eres mi felicidad, sin ti yo no puedo estar. Caliente, 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 amor, 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 quiéreme así, 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 con frenesí, eres mi felicidad, sin ti yo no puedo estar. Caliente, 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 caliente.
Ole! Very good. Gina, we thank you so very much, and all of us, I know, wish you and your group the greatest success with the motion picture. Say the title again in Spanish. I massacred it before.
Dios te salve, psiquiatra.
I like the way she says that. Incidentally, we would like to thank Norman Paris and his group as well, Justin Arnton, Tony Rongo, and Frank Searcha. Now then, let's find out about the other 2 pretties here. Number 2, would you tell us who you really are?
My name is Silvia Daube, and I'm in flight hostess with Panagra, Pan American, Grace Airways.
Thank you. And number 3, tell us about you.
My name is Pilar Jark, and I work for a photographer.
Very good. Dina, may I ask why did you disqualify yourself?
Well, just before Mr. Castro came into power, Gina and I were in a motion picture together, made in Cuba.
Oh, how wonderful.
And we haven't seen each other, I think, since that time.
Oh, when I saw you, I got so scared.
I've never had to disqualify myself before.
Well, you can all chat a little bit later on. Meanwhile, girls, I think you'll be delighted to know that with the disqualification and 2 incorrect votes, you share a grand total of $750. How about that? Thank you so much. Good night. Now let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Steve Matthews.
My name is Steve Matthews.
My name is Steve Matthews.
All right, panel, follow along, please, as I read. I, Steve Matthews, recently won the 17th Annual World Championship Pack Burro Race. This competition is based on the physical trials of the old-time prospectors as they headed up into the mountains in search of gold. This grueling contest requires that a burro with regulation pack saddle and loaded with mining equipment be coaxed, towed, pulled, pushed, shoved, and even carried over a treacherous old stagecoach trail at altitudes up to 13,000 feet. The rules stipulate that one can never ride the animal, so I had to trot alongside the burro, whose name, incidentally, is Cream Puff, for the entire 23 miles. Although it was the first time I'd entered the competition, I established a new record for the event, 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 23 seconds. It's been estimated that the physical effort involved in the pack burro race is equivalent to climbing 3 times up and down the stairs in the Empire State Building. Signed, Steve Matthews. Three stalwart gentlemen to my left, they all claim to be Steve Matthews. Peggy, would you start, please?
Yes. Mr. Matthews, number 3. Does the burro also carry, food and sleeping bags, or just the mining stuff?
Just the mining equipment.
Well, then, number 2, and then in the old days, how did they get their sourdough bread up and everything? Did they carry that on their own backs?
Well, they did in the old days.
They did pack the burro with that stuff.
They packed it then.
Well, number 1, did all prospectors have burros? I mean, it's like a standard equipment.
No, most of them did, I imagine.
Okay. Number 3, where was the faithless mine?
I don't know.
Oh, number 2, where did this contest take place?
In Leadville, Colorado.
Thank you, Peggy. Orson, old burro rider.
Leadville, number 2? Leadville, that must be a swinging town. Number 3, according to my lightning calculations using the new math here, you coaxed, cajoled, wheedled, pushed, shoved, and carried this burro at about 8 miles an hour. That's pretty fast, isn't it? I mean, how fast was the president's physical fitness walk there? That was without a burro. How could you keep up a pace like that?
Well, I've done a certain amount of physical training for this.
Yeah, well, number 1, did the burro train too?
Yeah.
How hard was it to pull him and coax him? Did he go right along with no trouble?
I didn't have too much trouble with him, no.
Thank you, Orson. Dina.
Number 2, how much weight is actually on the burro's back?
25 pounds.
And that's all your mining equipment?
No, the mining, part of it's the mining equipment and some of it's lead weights.
Number 3, have you ever heard of a place called Vail?
Yes, the ski center in Colorado.
How far is that from Leadville?
About 45 miles.
I see. Number 1, do you happen to know what route Leadville's on?
I'm sorry, Dina. Tom.
Well, I forget who Orson was asking about this, but let me ask you, number 3. You might have figured it out. How fast did you go? For how many miles per hour did you go?
Slightly over 7 miles per hour.
Which is fast, but it's not that prohibitive. Number 2, what kind of harness did you have on the mule?
Just had a regular burro harness. Just a regular type.
What did you have?
Special
Number
name.
1, what kind of harness did you have on his head?
You mean on his head, a halter?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, that's it. The time is up, and once again, I ask you, if you will, to vote without consultation and mark your ballots for number 1, number 2, or number 3. And I think you might have a tough job. You've got a couple of good imposters up there. Are we all set? Everybody ready? Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 3. I think he was probably telling the truth when he said that he went into training for it. Indeed, I'm sure he must have.
All right, Peggy.
Well, what I know about burros, forget it. But I voted for number 3 because he's a nice, healthy-looking young man, and I feel he'd be daring and do that kind of thing.
Orson.
Why, I don't know. What kind of a reason is that? I voted for number 1 because he looks like your typical taciturn, I don't even mention it, really.
What does that...
That's op art.
Oh, I see.
It's the number 1 that's
Obstinate
made
art,
to look
huh?
like a burro, yeah.
And Dina?
Well, I think they're all healthy looking, but I voted for number 3 because he did know how far Leadville was from Vale, and he's right.
All right, let me try to tabulate all that as Bud usually. 3 for 3 and 1 for 1. Hey, that's pretty easy tonight. All right, now let's find out which of these 3 gentlemen did participate in that race. Will the real Steve Matthews please stand up?
Oh.
Boy, I love it when that happens. Congratulations, Steve, and that must have been quite a grueling trip.
Oh, it was.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I'm going to return next year.
Okay, there you go. Well, number 2, you didn't get any votes, but you were a great imposter. Let's find out who you really are.
I'm Bill Byers. I'm a reporter with Newspaper Enterprise Association.
And number 3, you really fooled him. 3 votes. Who are you, sir?
My name is Jim Connolly. I own and operate a bar restaurant at Sugarbush Valley called the Blue Tooth.
That explains that. Well, gentlemen, I'm very happy to tell you there's been a total of 3 incorrect votes, which means 750 smackers for you to share. Thanks for being with us tonight, and good night. All right, now let's meet our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Alexander Langmuir.
My name is Alexander Langmuir.
My name is Alexander Langmuir.
Once again, panel, will you please follow along as I read? I, Alexander Langmuir, am a detective. It's my job to track down and eliminate the most dangerous public enemy in the world, disease. I am chief of the Epidemic Control Program of the United States Public Health Service. And because of the crusading work of our Public Health Service, smallpox, diphtheria, and polio have been virtually eliminated in these United States. But our work is not confined to this country. Many times a year, my staff and I must rush to the far corners of the world, checking on outbreaks of such highly contagious killers as cholera, typhoid, smallpox, yellow fever, and bubonic plague. Signed, Dr. Alexander Langmuir. All right, folks, to my left, 3 gentlemen. They all claim to be Dr. Alexander Langmuir. Let's start this with Dina Merrill.
Dr. Langmuir, number 1. Why do you have to travel to places where there are epidemics?
Very often where these epidemics break out, the authorities there are not in a position even to recognize them, no less handle them.
Then how are you alerted to the fact that it is an epidemic or what it is?
Through the United Nations, the World Health Organization, almost all of the countries in the world are in touch with each other, keeping record of the incidence of these epidemics.
I see. Number 3, these countries tell you that they think they have a case of bubonic plague, and then you go over or you send doctors over to check whether it really is?
There haven't been many cases of bubonic plague for a number of years.
That's good.
Thank you, Dina. Tom.
Number 2, how many cases of smallpox will there be in the world this year?
About 100,000.
Thank you. Number 3, do you remember reading, what is the Red Death? Remember when Boccaccio's Decameron was written? It was written during a plague of the Red Death. What is that?
Scarlet fever.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, number 1, what is the Black Death, the so-called
This
Black...
is the plague, the so-called plague.
They're all pretty horrible. I'm glad you're working hard, whoever you are. Number 2, what is the cause of bubonic plague? We hear so much about this terrible thing.
It's a germ.
It is a germ. Thank you.
Thank you. There's an evasive answer. All right, Peggy.
Thank you. Number 3, What insect transmits malaria?
Mosquito.
Thank you. But number one, could you be a little closer? What kind of...
The Anopheles mosquito.
Thank you. Number two, how does one catch typhoid? This is grand. How do you catch typhoid?
You have to eat or swallow the typhoid germ.
Thank you. Number three, there was once a great big plague that went through New Orleans. Could you tell me what disease that was?
That was the plague, bubonic plague.
Oh, thank you. Number one, where are the headquarters of the World Health of where you are?
I'm in San Francisco.
Thank you. Now, number two, when you come...
I'm sorry, Peggy,
I
there's
love
the bell.
disease.
Now I turn you over to one of the world's most eminent medical authorities, Dr. Orson Bean.
Well, I am the Eastern distributor of Dowager's Hump. Number two. I don't know why. Listen, number two. Just tell me about yourself in your own words. Listen. What is Germ City, number two? No, that's ridiculous. Number two, is number three right when he... Well, thank you very much.
Oh, Doctor, I am sorry to cut you off in your prime, but I think it's better for all concerned. Would you now, without consultation, please mark your ballots, determining, if you will, whether the real doctor is number one, number two, or number three? And may I say, all joking aside, as Tom said, whichever of you gentlemen it is, please keep up the good work. Are we all set, panel? All marked. Good. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number two unquestionably in my mind because of the splendid work Orson did in drawing up the real...
Peggy.
I voted for number one because I once had malaria and I caught it from one of those nasty mosquitoes.
One of those bugs, huh?
Anopheles, what is it?
Oh,
Anopheles. I forget.
We're running late, Peg, please. Mosquito is enough. Orson.
Well, I'm convinced it's number three because he said bubonic plague and not just plague. But number one really looks like I can see tongue depressors in his inside pocket there. He kind of...
All right, Dina?
I voted for number one because of that mosquito, too.
Well, there you go. There are the votes. Let's find out now which of these gentlemen really is doing such a marvelous job for all of us. Will the real Dr. Alexander Langmuir please stand up? Yes, Tom.
You know how I really knew?
No.
Eli Wallach told us on television that there was going to be 100,000 cases of smallpox in the world this year. So don't neglect your smallpox vaccinations.
Thank you, Dr. Poston.
Eli Wallach.
All right, very good. Dr. Langmuir, again, congratulations on your work. Tell me, what disease do you think you will be able to get under control next?
We now have a fine vaccine against measles, and if it's properly used, we can eliminate measles in the next 18 months.
Well, let's hope for that eventuality. Thank you. Now then, number one, you got yourself 3 votes. 3 votes. Let's find out who you really are.
My name is Herman Hurst, Jr., and I'm an auctioneer of rare postage stamps.
Oh, that's marvelous. Very good. Number 3, you are excellent. Let's find out who you really are, sir.
My name is Austin Armistead, and I'm pastor of Bay Ridge Methodist Church in Brooklyn, New York.
Well, gentlemen, as you see, once again, we've really skunked them. 3 incorrect votes, which means a total of $750 for you to share. We're delighted you've got it. Thank you for being with us, and good night. Well, that just about winds us up for tonight. Dina Merrill, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You're as lovely as ever. And Dr. Bean, I understand you start your 2nd week with the Owl and the Pussycat.
In Mineola, where the wind comes.
Thank you, sir.
Mineola,
Good luck.
with Phyllis Newman.
We'll look for all of you, Doctor, please. We'll look for all of you tomorrow afternoon on our daytime show and hope to see you next week. Meantime, this is Robert Q. for Bud Collier reminding you, as Bud always does, to tell the truth.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Codman production. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Polident Denture Cleanser, the new effervescent penetrating power that cleans years off your dentures. Polident. Johnny Olson speaking. This program pre-recorded.
Join Harry Belafonte, Diane Carroll, Sammy Davis Jr., Duke Ellington, and Sidney Poitier in the Strolling 20s in color 2 hours from now.